Okay, people, so we were discussing basically animal kingdom, and in animal kingdom we have already discussed quite a bit of things. Now we'll move on to platyhelminthes. Okay, platyhelminthes or flatworms, we have to be very careful in going through this, because it happens to be one of the most versatile creatures, and it is a cause of many diseases in human beings as well as in animals. It has been the cause of many diseases out here. Okay, so phylum Platyhelminthes, which is also known as the phylum of flatworms. Okay, study of worms causing parasitic infestation. So mostly they are parasitic, and they cause a lot of diseases in human beings as well as in animals. Okay, so study of worms causing parasitic infestations is called helminthology. So this is known as helminthology. Okay, habitat, where do they stay? Basically the flatworms are mostly parasites, but some flatworms are free living, that is they might be terrestrial, they might be freshwater, or they may be marine as well. Okay, so some flatworms, mostly they are parasites, but some of them are free living. They may be staying in land, they may be staying in fresh water, or they may be staying in sea water as well. Symmetry, they show bilateral symmetry. You can divide the body into exactly two equal halves. Germ layers, from the evolution point of view, they are the first triploblastic animals. Very important out here. Till now, whatever we have studied were diploblastic. From the evolution point of view, platyhelminthes are the first triploblastic, that is they will have all the three germ layers, that is ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm. Okay, level of organization, the flatworms have organ level of organization. Body wall, the body wall covering is soft and may or may not be ciliated. So it might be soft and may or may not be ciliated. Cilia is basically projections which the body has. Rod shaped bodies, that is rhabdites, are present in the epidermal cell of the living platyhelminthes. So these are rod shaped and they are present in the outer skin, that is epidermis. Epidermal cells of living platyhelminthes, these are known as rhabdites, and this is one unique feature. Okay, the rod shaped bodies, that is rhabdites, which are present in the epidermal cells of platyhelminthes, that is one unique feature. They are protective and used in food capture. Body cavity, the space between the body walls and organs is filled with a peculiar connective tissue called the parenchyma. So this is basically filled with a peculiar connective tissue, and that is known as parenchyma. Flatworms are acoelomates, that is without colon. So they do not have colon and they are without colon. Okay, digestive tract. The digestive tract, if present, is incomplete. So that makes them a parasite. They have to depend on others for their food. Okay, so the digestive tract, if present, is incomplete, that is without anus. Digestive tract is absent in tapeworms. In tapeworms, this digestive tract is absolutely absent, and that is one of the reasons why it has got no other option but to become a parasite. Skeletal, respiratory and circular systems, all these are basically absent. The fluid in the parenchymal network maintains the body shape. So there is a fluid and there is a parenchymal network. Okay, parenchyma is basically a tissue which we generally study in plants, but here it happens to be in animals as well. So parenchyma network maintains the body shape. It's called the hydroskeleton. So there is no actual skeleton out here, but there is a hydroskeleton. There is a fluid in parenchymal tissues, and this maintains the body shape. Okay, performs the same function as the function is performed by a skeleton. Okay, gaseous exchange in aerobic flatworms occurs by diffusion through body surface. So there is a body surface through which gaseous exchange will take place. If we happen to look at so this is basically how a cell will look like. A flame cell will basically look like. We are going to study this, what is basically a flame cell. Excretory system, it consists of peculiar flame cells. These are flame cells, that is the excretory system. That is, they are also known as solenocytes or proteinephridia. Okay, nephridia we all know that is present in our kidneys. Okay, and these are known as protonephridia or flame cells. Protonephridia or flame cells again happens to be one unique feature of platyhelminthes, which are meant for excretion and osmoregulation. Ammonia is the chief excretory waste. This is basically, since they live in sufficient quantity of water and they can afford to lose their weight through ammonia, and hence they would be ammonotelic. Nervous system, the nervous system is ladder like, again a unique feature. It consists of the brain and two main longitudinal nerve cords connected intervals by transverse commissures. So we have to remember this, that in their digestive system they have something called as flame cells, and these flame cells are also known as solenocytes or protonephridia. One unique feature, okay, skeletal system is absent, their digestive system is incomplete, they have flame cells, and these are also known as protonephridia. Aminotelic and nervous system has ladder like structures. It consists of brain and two main longitudinal nerve cord. So these are certain special features of Platyhelminthes. Reproductive system, these animals are generally, this is basically a misprint, hermaphrodite, which means that they will have both the sexes together, and reproductive organs are well developed. So they have well developed reproductive organs. So we have to keep on remembering things. What is special about them? They have ladder like nerve cells, they have ladder like nervous structure, nervous tissue, and they have protonephridia or solenocytes, which are basically the flame cells for excretion. They are aminotelic, and if we consider their reproductive system, they are generally hermaphrodite, and reproductive organs are well developed reproductive organs. The fertilization is cross and internal, so both types of fertilization takes place, cross as well as internal. In tapeworms, self fertilization is found. So in tapeworms, self fertilization, which means within the body itself the fertilization is taking place. Asexual reproduction by transverse binary fission occurs in some flatworms. So some flatworms, there will be binary fission, which is basically an asexual mode of reproduction. Development life cycle is complicated in most of the flatworms with one or more larval stages. So there are more than one larval stages. Okay, in liver fluke, for example, Myracidium, Sporocyst, Rhedia, Cerceria and Metacerceria larvae are present. So these are, see how many larval stages do we have here in liver fluke? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5 larval stages. That is Myracidium, Sporocyst, Rhedia, Cerceria and Metacerceria. These are the different larval stages. In tapeworm, Ochinosphere, Hexacynth and Cysticerus larvae are found. So 3 stages of larvae are found. So development means the different larval stages, and mostly in flatworms or Platyhelminthes you will have more than one larval stage or more than one developmental stage. Talking about regeneration, it is well marked in some flatworms like Planaria. Planaria is basically an organism, if you cut it into 2 pieces, it will again regenerate. Okay, so as many number of times you cut it, it will again regenerate. Okay, unique features, parenchyma, as we saw. So parenchyma basically contains the fluid which serves as the hydroskeleton. Sorry. Unique features, one is parenchyma, hydroskeleton. Okay, flame cells, these are basically the protonephridia, which are responsible for excretion. Nervous system, ladder like nervous system. Then self fertilization occurs in some flatworms. In some flatworms self fertilization occurs, that is in tapeworms. Otherwise they are generally hermaphrodite animals. Okay, classification chiefly on the basis of phylum Platyhelminthes is divided into 3 classes. One is Tubularia, Turbellaria. These are mostly free living flatworms. Examples are Planaria. These are free living, they are not parasites, they are free living. Termatoda, these are ecto or endoparasites. Example flukes, Fasciola and Cystostoma. Okay, so these are basically ecto or endo. They might stay within the host body or they might stay outside the host body. Cestoda, these worms are endoparasites of vertebrates. So generally it is found in vertebrates and these are endoparasites. The body is generally divided into too many proglottids. So proglottids are basically segments, however they are not segments. Externally you might see that the body is divided into a lot of segments, but internally it is not. So proglottids means that these are just external segments. Internally the body is not divided into as many segments as it appears to be on the outside. So these are known as proglottids or not true segments. So we have Taenia, Echinococcus, dog tapeworm. Okay, it is found in dogs. Dugacia, which is Planaria, it is found in slow moving streams or freshwater ponds. It bears cilia on its body. For swimming and for movement it bears cilia. It has great power of regeneration. As I said, if you cut it into pieces it will regenerate. Okay, the head bears 2 lateral lobes. There is like a lobe like this. Okay, and auricular processes and a pair of eyes. These are the first evolutionary eyes. Actually they are not eyes, but they are photosensitive. Okay, they actually can perceive light, although they are not behaving like eyes, but they can perceive light. Okay, cystostoma, it is commonly known as the blood fluke, as it lives in the hepatic portal system and mesenteric blood vessels of human beings. As I said, these are parasites, and these can basically cause a lot of diseases and a lot of complications in human beings as well as in a lot of animals as well. Okay, in intermediate host is snail. So intermediate host means the host which comes in between. The male carries the female permanently in the gynecophoric canal. So there is a gynecophoric canal in the male in which it carries the female permanently along with itself. Okay, cystostoma shows well marked sexual dimorphism. So there is basically sexual dimorphism in cystostoma. After fertilization, the female leaves the male and lays eggs in the smaller blood vessels. So in the smaller blood vessels, that is in the hepatic portal system itself, it will start laying its eggs. Okay, cystostoma causes cystostomasis. So this is the disease which is causes cystostomasis. The symptoms of the disease are, the patient will be suffering from diarrhea, the patient will be suffering from loss of blood, that is anemia, enlargement of liver and spleen, okay, pain and fever. All these are things which the patient will suffer from. The disease can be prevented by not taking contaminated water. Most of these cases, most of these worms or most of these platyhelminthes creatures stay in water. If we happen to drink purified water, we will avoid the diseases getting caused by them. Okay, so let's move on to the next one here. Fasciola, the liver fluke. This is adult Fasciola hepatica is found in the liver and bile duct of sheep, goat, which are its primary host. So it is found in sheep as well as in goat, and these are its primary host. The secondary or the intermediate host is a pond snail, that is also a mollusk. Okay, the fluke is hermaphrodite. It will have both the sex organs in the same body, but there is cross fertilization. Although it has both the sex organs in the same body, but it will undergo cross fertilization with a different organism, different variety. It causes a disease known as liver rot, fasciolysis. Okay, the infected animal feels great muscular weakness resulting in muscular pain. So there is a tremendous muscular pain inside the body or the animal that has this inside its body. The liver enlarges and the bile ducts are blocked. So the bile ducts which secrete the bile juice or the enzyme that helps in digestion, they are blocked. The disease may prove fatal to the animal. It has acetabulum, that is ventral sucker for attachment. So it has got a ventral sucker through which it attaches itself to the host body. So we will see some diagrams out here. This is planaria. It is a free living organism. If you look at this, these are the two eyes and this is the structure. This is the dorsal surface, this is the auricular. This is basically the ventral surface, the bottom side. Okay, there is the mouth and this is the gonopore. This is the tapeworm, which is again dangerous to us. Okay, you see these proglottids, these are immature. So these are segmentations which are only external. So the ones, these are mature proglottids, and the ones which are here are immature proglottids. These are gravid proglottids. So there are three types of proglottids in tapeworms. Immature proglottids, which are which are constantly increasing until they become mature, and then we have gravid proglottids. So if you see, these are hooks and suckers through which they suck the host blood. Okay, we have here fasciola, which causes fasciolysis. Okay, there are oral suckers, the mouth, common genital pore. There is a ventral sucker, oral sucker and ventral sucker. Okay, this is cystostoma. See, if this is basically male and female. As we saw, the male basically carries the female within it. Okay, so the female body is within the male body, as we just learned. Okay, the female body is carried within the male body. Okay, and after it lays eggs, it goes out. Okay, so this basically causes cystostoma. Taenia soleum, the pork tapeworm, it is found in porks. Okay, in pigs. It is found in all those countries where pork is taken as food mostly. Okay, the adults of T. soleum are parasites in small intestine of human beings. Okay, primary host. So we are the primary host for this, and its larva is mostly found in the muscles of the pig, secondary host. So larva stage is found in pigs. However, the entire development and it behaving as a parasite. This happens only within human bodies. Okay, its larva is mostly found in the muscles of the pig. The tapeworm does not have alimentary canal. The digested food of the host is diffused directly through the general body surface. T. solium is hermaphrodite, has both the sex organs. Both mouth and anus are absent. Incomplete digestive system, leaving it with no other option but to become a parasite. Proglottids show pseudometamerism, external segmentation only. So that's the reason we call it proglottids, because there is no corresponding internal segmentation. Tapeworm causes teniasis. This disease can be characterized by such symptoms as abdominal pain, restlessness, anemia, false appetite and indigestion. So these are certain symptoms which are caused by tapeworms. Okay. Then we have cysticercosis caused by cysticercosis, that is bladder worm, is more dangerous than teniasis, that is more dangerous than the tapeworm itself. Cysticercosis is a larva of tapeworm which develops from another larva, the ochnosphere. As we saw, tapeworm also has 3 larval stages. So one of the larval stages, that is oncosphere, basically develops cysticercosis. Sometimes the ochnospheres reach human stomach directly with contaminated food or by water or by antiperistalsis of intestine. So they will basically get established in the stomach. These ochnospheres develop into bladder worms in man, and thus man becomes accidentally the intermediate host of the tapeworm. So it becomes the intermediate host of the tapeworm. The bladder worms may reach the eyes where they may undergo encystment. So it has a possibility of reaching the human eyes, and there it can basically evolve. So and can cause permanent blindness in the and cause blindness, or in the brain they can cause epilepsy. So very dangerous out here. It can actually go into the eyes, it can also go into the brains, causing epilepsy. Okay, so these are certain things that we need to be very careful about. Taenia saginata, that is beef tapeworm, it lives in the human intestine of the beef eating persons. So people who eat beef, this goes into them. Its intermediate hosts are cattle and buffaloes. It is longer than Taenia solium. Its body is divisible into scolex, necks and strobila. So there is proper segmentation. The scolex bears 4 adhesive suckers, but it does not have rostrum and hooks. Its infection occurs by taking undercooked beef. So if we are consuming undercooked beef, that's when the infection actually will occur. So this pretty much covers your topic on Platyhelminthes. We will deal with Annelida after this. So stay tuned and keep on learning.